Yes, my name is Mike Williams. We're on Lundy South as I speak now. I've been appointed here for about 3.5 years, and I had a previous spell of 6 years here soon after I joined the job.
What other lighthouses have you been on?
When I joined the service, I went first to Dungeness, and that was only for a brief observational spell. Then I went on the training course for 4 weeks, and that was followed by a spell on longships. And after that, South Bishop and Round Island, and then I was appointed here to Lundy, where I remained for 6 years before going on to the Royal Sovereign. And after the Royal Sovereign, I went to Round Island and stayed there until the automation was complete. And I was on the pool then for the best part of a year and went to a number of stations while I was on the pool. And then was appointed to the Bishop Rock, and that was my last station before coming here.
How long were you on the Bishop?
For a little under a year.
Can you tell us a bit about what it's like on the Tower Rock?
Bishop, I believe as Tower Rocks go, is a reasonably comfortable one. My only previous experience of them was Longships and Hanwha, and the Bishop is more roomy than either of those two. The same restrictions apply, though, to the Bishop as to any other tower. In terms of being able to walk about, exercise is pretty much limited to the helideck, since the gallery is usually too cluttered to walk around easily. In fact, I was training for the London Marathon, the 89 London Marathon, while I was on the Bishop, and I did so mostly by running around on the helideck, except in the last few weeks of training where I actually ran up and down the stairs a bit, but that would have been unacceptable for any length of time because of the noise and opening and shutting of doors, etc.
So you ran in the London Marathon and then?
Yes, I had a target time of 3.5 hours, which is a pretty modest target time, and I missed it by 2 or 3 seconds. No, correction, I missed it by 15 seconds. My official time being 3.5 hours and 15 seconds.
Can you say what day-to-day life's like on the Tower Rock?
The differences are mostly the actual amount of space for moving about. The fact that everything is up and down as opposed to on the level, and the fact that we have to share a bedroom, which means that our personal space is quite restricted. When we draw the curtain, the bunk is our personal bit of space, and we can read and escape from the world a bit in there, especially if you have a personal stereo. But it doesn't give much room.
Right, getting your food and stuff on board, how do you go about doing that?
For this station that I'm on now, I travel to Swansea by rail from home and go straight away to the supermarket after dropping my bags off at my digs, and I do all my shopping in the supermarket. The only food which I take with me is my own homemade muesli. The rest comes from the supermarket, and then I did get a taxi to the Trinity House depot, where I start to get it packed up for the next day when the relief is on. And it all has to go in the standard red Albert boxes. And I normally take most of 3 of those boxes.
You now do helicopter reliefs to London. Were you ever on boat reliefs here?
No, a boat relief was always an exception in early days here if the helicopter was offline for quite some time. For any reason, then relief by the THV Winston Churchill was occasionally done, but it was quite rare.
What's it like living on Lundy then?
It's obviously a lot more spacious than the towers or the smaller rocks, and it has the added advantage of being able to see a few different faces other than the crew that I'm on the station with.
And you have your own bedroom, of course.
Yes, that's a big advantage.
Can you say what day-to-day life is like on Lundy, on the lighthouse?
Yes, the actual routine for working is not dissimilar to that on a tower, except that everything is more spread out. Most of the routine chores, as on most lighthouses, are done by the morning watchman, and these are mostly cleaning chores, but they do include a small amount of light maintenance work, no pun intended.
And this station you do weather reports?
Oh, yeah. Yes, we do weather reports on Lundy. Those are every 3 hours for the Met Office, and we do some which are roughly every 4 hours for the Coast Guard. The ones for the Coast Guard are in plain language, and the ones for the Met Office are encoded for their computer system.
Lundy North has been automated some years now, and it's part of your duties to go and look after that.
Yes, that's a diminishing duty now, but we haven't yet been told not to go and clean the place up and tidy it a bit. So we're continuing to do so on a more or less monthly basis. And of course we're available still if there are problems there which need sorting out by unskilled people.
So you remember when Lundy North was still manned, don't you?
Yes, for the first couple of years or so that I was here when I joined the job, Lundy North was still manned, and there was a little bit of social interaction between the two crews. Members of one crew would go and visit the other station from time to time. And when the station was automated, two of the assistant keepers from Lundy South spent a week at Lundy North training to look after the place under two of the training staff from Blackwall. And then the regular keepers were removed from Lundy North and never returned. From that time, the physical condition of the station went downhill quite rapidly. Things tended to rust and rot, and it was noticeable how the lack of habitation caused the place to degrade, partly because of it was not being heated and it wasn't being regularly ventilated with doors being opened and windows opened. Things had to be shut up for security, and all of this had quite a bad effect, plus the fact that there was nobody there to take preventative measures to prevent things from getting worse.
When exactly did you join Trinity House?
I joined Trinity House in '74. The month was November, and it was the 4th. And I was instructed to go to Swansea and to take working clothes. And when I arrived at Swansea, somebody managed to find out that I was being sent to Dungeness. So I stayed overnight in Swansea and took another day's travel to Dungeness, just in time to join in the bonfire celebrations at the station there.
So you've been the lighthouse keeper about 19 odd years?
Yes, that's correct.
Have you had any memorable storms at sea then on lighthouses?
Yes, the most memorable was on the Royal Sovereign. It was a gale roughly from the south, and it was fairly consistently at storm force, and the wind was often going into hurricane force. It went on for quite a long time, several hours, if not a day or two. And some very large, short, high seas developed. And due to the construction of the Royal Sovereign, it being a stressed steel and concrete structure. It does have quite a lot of flex in it, and it does flex and rattle and bang about quite a lot. And it doesn't give you a very good feeling of security. So I remember that one very well.
So what movements was it doing during this?
The lesser movements of the place, which are common in high swells or in gales, are a gentle lurching and smaller rocking movements such as you might experience on a train. As it gets worse, things tend to sort of rattle and bang about a little bit, and when large steep waves hit the caisson of the station underwater, the vibration is transmitted up and it feels like somebody hitting the underside of the floor with a sledgehammer.
So quite a violent movement.
Yes, at times. Not so much in an ordinary gale, but in the sort of storm force and upwards from there, it is quite a violent movement then.
Christmases on the lighthouse. Have you done any of those?
Yes, I've done a few of those. I'm not a great enthusiast of Christmas, so it doesn't worry me too much whether I'm ashore or away. But I can't say that I remember any one of them particularly well.
Do you actually like being a lighthouse keeper?
The only answer I can give to that is some of the time. I like the scenery, and I sometimes like the general feeling of the job. And there are other times when I really don't like it very much, especially the irregular hours. I do find as I get older now that the watch routine causes me some problems, especially in the second fortnight.
Right then, Mike, thanks very much for your time.
Well, it's a pleasure. I'm sorry that I'm not a more fluent speaker on the subject.